Let's start with a rude question. Why should we care enough to know our customer beyond knowing the floor plan and the core requirements? What benefit does it give us? Four critical benefits. Number one, to build any solution, we need to understand the problem that they have. And the problem is not floor plan, it's usually in what they like, what they don't like, their yes and their no nos. We have to discover that to give them an acceptable, successful solution. One. Two, later on, there is always change in our projects. But if we understand the customer upfront and early, and we keep questioning him or her, we will get to minimize this change by front loading it. Thoughts which will occur to them 6 months down the line will occur to them now. Three, by understanding the power dynamic between multiple homeowners, we'll understand who has the veto power, who sets the taste, and who sets the functionality, who from whose mind come the use cases, and from whose mind comes the material choice, aesthetics, or any of that. Last and probably the most important part of project success is saving the customer from his own self created issues. They will come up with ideas tomorrow during the middle of the change. At that time, how are you going to help them navigate and sometimes prevent those ideas if you don't understand what are the real priorities they have? By understanding their priorities at the starting, you make life easy during the construction phase by navigating them through the options, through the changes they want to bring in, and ground them into some sort of reality, something that aligns with the real problems they're trying to solve. Oracles tend to use five distinct categories of questions to really dig deep into knowing their customer to assure the project success later. What are these? First, the fundamentals. Second, the aesthetics. Three, the priorities. Four, the practicalities. And fifth, the caution or the no nos. Let's get into each one of them in detail. Once all the key voices are represented in the room, so typically that would mean both the husband and the wife as homeowners, you have to ask them the fundamental questions. These questions will have a large impact on problems and solution later. First is, of course, who are the decision makers? Second is, who are all the people who are going to be living or coming in frequently, their ages, their demographic information, their general family information. The third question, which gets to the heart of the overall problem, is why did you purchase this house at all? Was it to get into a more secure neighborhood? Was it that you needed a larger space for your family and you expect your family to expand more? Was it because you wanted to move away from a nuclear family and be part of a joint family and there's a bigger house? Was it that you have elderly parents? Were you just bored of the old house? Do you want more privacy and the last house did not afford you that? Do you want a society which will grow in terms of the pricing and the cost later? Are you just flipping the house? Are you a first time homeowner who just wants to get out of a rented apartment? Or do you plan for it to be a forever home? And all of these questions are going to have a massive, massive impact on the solution you'll design. A good example is if it's going to be a forever home and not just a flipping property, then they're going to be willing to spend on low maintenance, luxury, long lasting fittings. Next question is, how do you generally spend your time? A home is built around use cases. So, how they spend their time for the majority of the day is something that the house has to, by its nature, accommodate. How do you spend your weekends? Do you entertain or do you tend to stay indoors and do you like to have a quiet corner where you can watch a movie, maybe read a book? Outside of office, what activities do you spend the most time on? Are you at the gym most of the time? Do you play a lot of sports? Do you like reading? Do you watch TV? Do you cook a lot? Do you spend time with your kids? Do you just want to sit with your significant other and do nothing and have the best time in the world? The last question is the one that is the most revealing, at least about their long term strategy with the house. You should ask them, where do you see this house evolving? In what way do you see this house evolving 5 years or maybe 10 years down the line? What would have changed by then? The next category is the aesthetics. Ideally, try to show them a curated set of images based on what you know about them. and ask them not which one do you like, but which one makes you feel the most like yourself, which one makes you feel the most at home. It's not enough that they like shiny objects. What is important is that when they touch something, they should be comfortable with it. They should feel content with it. To get a more practical view of it, ask them if they've got any pictures of their previous home and specifically the kind of things, the elements that they liked within it and the elements that they disliked within it. If they don't have that, a very good second substitute is to ask them for any Pinterest images saved, but that shouldn't be the first instinct because Pinterest is full of shiny objects, right? They like a lot of things sometimes only because it's photographed well, but something that they've lived in their previous house, be it rented or be it something that they purchased first home, that's what's really going to tell you more about their actual aesthetic taste. The last one is to discover their favorite materials, favorite textures, and a good way of doing this is to actually make them touch a variety of textures with their eyes closed, and they have to describe how it makes them feel. It's not about visual consumption, it's about what their contentment comes from. The next category is priority. While the priorities are fairly straightforward list, but the critical thing here is the methodology. At Immaculate, what we do is we provide you with a template containing these items and ask the homeowners to fill each one of them. And then eventually you have a weighted result across all of them, which gives you as a unit for everyone what are the priorities. So, what are the categories that we use? We use budget, long term maintainability, pure aesthetics, upgrade ability. They may enjoy constantly upgrading, custom, bespoke, Instagram worthy, green, sustainable, power saving, privacy oriented, family oriented, space saving, or spacious. Once you use these categories, after that, get all the homeowners to rank them, and then based on a cumulative sum of all of them, you'll be able to get a single list. Later on, when you take your decisions, you can take it on the basis of these. The fourth category of questions are the practical questions. I'm sure most of you already asked these questions about what are your budget, what's the overall layout, and probably most critically, what is the overall size and what's the scope of the work. But we'll highly recommend you ask them one more question in addition. Ask them that when there are disagreements amongst you as the multiple homeowners, how will you resolve them? Force them to think about it. By forcing them to think about it today, you'll prevent headaches later. The last item is simply about discovering the caution areas, the no nos, the red lines for the customer. What is the design language that he or she just don't like and never feel that they'll be comfortable with? What are the materials that give them, for the lack of a better term, that icky feeling? What are the use cases which they'd never see themselves doing at all? Once you discover this, mostly your set of questions is comprehensive in terms of the understanding of the customer, and you should feel comfortable that you would be able to handle any future questions from them, and your solution set will be fairly robust. Now, if you would like to work with a platform that incorporates all of these questions, especially the priority matrix, right into the workflow before the contract is signed and shows it to you at every stage, including the review stage, and holds the customer to them, come talk to us at immaculate.co.in. In fact, reach out to us for a 2-month free trial at contactus@immaculate.co.in. Thank you very much.